reading from The Way Out, Part 1, Unstuck, second half. In my search for healing from trauma, I experimented with listening to my inner guidance, my gut, my intuition, the still voice within. I practiced following it, even though it constantly contradicted my head. In the beginning, the head was strong, and the inner guidance was almost inaudible. Overpowered by the head, it would remain silent for long stretches of time. I learned to invite it back. I learned to ask for guidance. I learned to listen to it and follow it. I learned to trust it. Through experimentation, eventually I learned that following my big fat head when intuition indicated otherwise would always get me in trouble. Getting to follow my inner guidance, ignoring my head, took work. The muscle that opposed the head was very weak. With practice, it became stronger and stronger. The more I followed my inner guidance, the more it spoke to me, the more it proved itself right. In spite of all the inner work I was doing, the agony wouldn't go away, and life kept beating me up until one day, down on my knees, my soul cried out, "What does God want from me?" And God answered me. It happened in 2003. My life had become unmanageable and journal writing had taken over. One day, out of the blue, a conversation began with an inner voice, and a magical world opened up through my pen, a world in which Jay, my wounded inner child, played and laughed and cried with God. Wow. I was actually talking to God, and God was talking to me right there on paper, like I didn't have enough problems. I'm still digesting that one, but it was real, for as the conversations continued, I felt a loving presence inside. I was no longer alone. Shifting back and forth from agonizing writing to my magical world with God, I didn't know it then. I was weaving the wavelength of God into the wavelength of my pain. My insides were getting transformed through the love of God, literally. I didn't know what hope felt like, and one day I felt hope. I didn't know what contentment was, and one day contentment came into my life. I couldn't remember what joy felt like, and one day joy came back. But first I had to speak my mind. Uh-oh, here comes trouble. I hated God, and I told him so. And after my hatred was purged, I fell madly in love with him or her. And this is how I finally got unstuck. In the system of thought that I have adopted, the system of thought that works for me, God has no gender. God is not a separate entity. God is consciousness. The more conscious I become, the closer I am to God. The closer I am to God, the farther away I am from pain and suffering. That simple. Healing is in God. The path to God is through the heart. The path to the heart is found following the inner currents of feelings. My memories of trauma used to call me. They needed my attention. They no longer do. The doors to my past are closing behind me. I can let it all go now. There is a new life waiting for me.